Hi, I'm James Wanless, and we're here today to explore the world of intuition. I think intuition is probably the most fascinating and maybe the most mysterious of all these kinds of human faculties we have. In fact, I think it's probably our human genius, but lots of questions about it. For example, what is it really, in fact? And does everybody have it? How can we cultivate it? Lots and lots of questions. And what's the value of it, actually? And I will tell you, the value is great. I remember why I got interested in intuition is how the big difference it made in my life. I used to be, in this life a long time ago already, I used to be a professor of political science. I have a PhD from Columbia University and a very left-brain professor, and we would talk a lot about government and political science and all these issues. And one day I just had this little inner feeling or a little inner voice. That's probably what we call intuition. And this little inner voice, it was pretty subtle and it wouldn't go away and it certainly didn't make sense. And it said, leave. And I said, wow, leave what? Leave why? And it said, get out of your career in political science and go east. So going east, because I was working in Beirut at the time in the Middle East, was go further east, and in this case to India, where my intuition said to go. And that's what I did. I followed my intuition. It's the most important voice we have because intuition is all about helping you navigate your lives. Intuition, the greatest value of intuition is self-navigation. How do we know where to go, where, and when? It's intuition that tells us this. Intuition is also excellent for creativity, for manifestation of our creative ideas, certainly for communication between people, and at the deepest kind of personal level, it's our true inner self. It's our authentic self actually coming out. So intuition has a very practical, worldly business applications, and at the same time is really the path to self-discovery, self-exploration, and ultimately self-realization. So it's a big, big topic that goes back to a very, very little subtle feeling. So let's start out with one area of intuition, probably the area that we most use intuition all the time in our lives, and that is about making decisions. Decisions. I don't know how many decisions we make during the day, hundreds of decisions. And how do we make them? Well, if we really, really listened to that little inner voice, we're going to be best off. But we have to take a look at why we don't listen to our intuition, really what's going on in today's world. Number one, in today's world, a lot of the old rules of how we make up our lives or what we should do in business, a lot of the old models of success in today's world simply do not apply. In today's world, there's just so much change that how do we know where to go and what to do? All the old stuff just doesn't work anymore. Plus, in today's world, we have so many choices and options. Never before in human history have we had so many possibilities. I mean, it's daunting when you look at, well, all of these insurance programs or all of these telephone programs or packages I could buy or anything. It's just so many choices, which decision to make. And also in today's world, it's complex. In the old world, decisions, there weren't that many choices and they were pretty easy to make. And we basically followed the role model or advice of our parents or maybe our minister or our friends. Today, boy, a lot more complexity than that and speed. Speed. You know, we can communicate faster. This is such an interesting fact. We can communicate faster from New York to London through fiber optics than we can from our brain to the tip of our finger. Now, that's technology running fast and faster and perhaps even outrunning our own intelligence. Meaning, how do we keep up? How do we keep up with technology and not be overrun by it? How do we make decisions, which we have to make over and over in today's world, that are so complex and so uncertain? I mean, we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. How many economists predicted this great recession of this past year? Nobody, So we just don't know. So in this landscape, social, political, economic landscape, we don't know what's going to happen. So again, what are we supposed to do? I mean, we have to make decisions. We have to make decisions from moment to moment to moment, but how do we make them? Now, in the old world, this is the way we made decisions. We basically followed the rules, the norm, the tradition, and that worked. Now, let's say that we don't even know that, let's say. So what do? We ordinarily get the facts. Well, I want to know about this situation, and I want to think it through. Let's think it through. Okay, so I know this, and I know that, therefore, A will probably lead to B, and I know that, so then, logically speaking, in a linear left brain way, eventually we'll end up at C. Now that's logical thinking, and it does work, but it basically works in an industrial age. An industrial age where there are widgets that this leads to that. It's like machine kind of thinking because it's pretty regular, pretty ordinary, and pretty predictable. One thing Lisa, that's not the 21st century. It is not predictable. This we know. And so logic, it just doesn't work so much or so well anymore. I remember I was at a luncheon, and Steve Ballmer, who's the acting CEO of Microsoft, got up, was talking about business and Microsoft, cool stuff. And he said, for all our resources, we're Microsoft, we're the empire here, we did not foresee the internet. Now that that blew my mind. How can this company, which is the company, this is like 20 years ago, not foresee this incredible thing we call the internet, the World Wide Web and beyond? He said, and this is so interesting, he said, we were too logical. We were too logical. We were in the box. We just assumed that A would lead to B. And he said, we blew it. In today's world, it's more like quantum intuitive thinking, where A can lead to D. Why go through all of this? And then, because I live close to Silicon Valley, I was at another business meeting, and the acting CEO of Hewlett-Packard, this was back a few years ago, said, it's not about the fit. The fit, it's not about the survival of the fittest, which I really think there's a lot to do about fitness, but he said the survival of the quickest. The quickest. I think, whoa. And again, back to that aspect of speed in today's life. How do we keep up? And his recommendation, intuition. Follow your gut. Get the hunch and believe it and go with it. I actually have a friend who's a CEO of a large reinsurance company. And I said, Brian, how do you guys make decisions? He said, well, for every insurance decision we make, we have 10,000 different options. Spit it out by the computer. I'm like, wow, okay. So Brian, how do you make decisions, And he said, we get the data and then we follow our gut. We get the data and we follow our gut. And it is so true. I love Harvard Business School has done a lot of studies of entrepreneurs and the most successful entrepreneurs. And the higher you go up in the hierarchy of a corporation or any business, when you get to the decision makers, the more intuitive they are. You simply have to be. You have to be intuitive. So if you want to rise to the top, trust your gut. I mean, that's what all these incredible business leaders are telling us. And that's what this world is all about, is connection. And intuition is the way.